Sudanese RSF fighters training at secret camp in Ethiopia, say sources. Ethiopia is hosting a secret camp to train thousands of fighters for the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, paramilitary group in neighboring Sudan, Reuters reporting has found, in a latest sign that one of the world's deadliest conflicts is sucking in regional powers from Africa and the Middle East. The camp constitutes the first direct evidence of Ethiopia's involvement in Sudan's civil war, marking a potentially dangerous development that provides the RSF a substantial supply of fresh soldiers as fighting escalates in Sudan's south. 8 sources, including a senior Ethiopian government official, said the United Arab Emirates financed the camp's construction and provided military trainers and logistical support to the site, a view also shared in an internal note by Ethiopia Security Services and in a diplomatic cable, reviewed by Reuters. The news agency could not independently verify UAE involvement in the project or the purpose of the camp. In response to a request for comment, the UAE Foreign Ministry said it was not a party to the conflict or in any way involved in the hostilities. Sudan's civil war erupted in 2023 after a power struggle between the Sudanese armed forces and the RSF ahead of a planned transition to civilian rule. It has spread famine and been marked by racially charged atrocities. Millions of refugees have fled to Egypt, Chad, Libya, and South Sudan. Both sides draw strength from international backers, fueling the war and increasing the risk that the fighting spills over into neighboring countries. Sudan's civil war erupted in 2023 after a power struggle between the Sudanese armed forces and the RSF ahead of a planned transition to civilian rule. It has spread famine and been marked by racially charged atrocities. Millions of refugees have fled to Egypt, Chad, Libya, and South Sudan. Both sides draw strength from international backers, fueling the war and increasing the risk that the fighting spills over into neighboring countries. The news agency spoke to 15 sources familiar with the camp's construction and operations, including Ethiopian officials and diplomats, and analyzed satellite imagery of the area. 2 Ethiopian intelligence officials and the satellite images provided information that corroborated details contained in the security memo and cable. The location and scale of the camp and the detailed allegations of the UAE's involvement have not been previously reported. The images show the extent of the new development as recently as in the past few weeks, along with construction for a drone ground control station at a nearby airport. Activity picked up in October at the camp, which is located in the remote western region of Benishangul Gumuz, near the border with Sudan, satellite images show. Ethiopia's government spokesperson, its army and the RSF did not respond to detailed requests for comment about the findings of this story. On January 6th, UAE and Ethiopia issued a joint statement that included a call for a ceasefire in Sudan, as well as celebrating ties they said serve the defense of each other's security. The Sudanese armed forces did not respond to a request for comment. As of early January, 4,300 RSF fighters were undergoing military training at the site, and their logistical and military supplies are being provided by the UAE. The note by Ethiopia's security services seen by Reuters read, Sudan's army has previously accused the UAE of supplying the RSF with weapons, a claim UN experts and U.S. lawmakers have found credible. Abu Dhabi has been a strong supporter of Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's government from his early days in office in 2018, and the two countries have built a military alliance in recent years. The camp's recruits are mainly Ethiopians, but citizens from South Sudan and Sudan, including from the SPLMN, a Sudanese rebel group that controls territory in Sudan's neighboring Blue Nile state, are also present, 6 officials said. Reuters was unable to independently establish who was at the camp or the terms or conditions of recruitment. A senior leader of the SPLMN, who declined to be named, denied his forces had a presence in Ethiopia. The 6 officials said the recruits are expected to join the RSF battling Sudanese soldiers in Blue Nile, which has emerged as a front in the struggle for control of Sudan. 2 of the officials said hundreds had already crossed in recent weeks to support the paramilitaries in Blue Nile. The internal security note said Gen Getachew Gadina, the chief of the Defense Intelligence Department of the Ethiopian National Defense Force, was responsible for setting up the camp. A senior Ethiopian government official, as well as 4 diplomatic and security sources, confirmed Getachew's role in launching the project. The camp was carved out of forested land in a district called Minj, about 32 kilometers from the border, and strategically located at the intersection of the 2 countries in South Sudan, according to the satellite imagery and the diplomatic cable. The first sign of activity in the area began in April, with forest clearing and the construction of metal-roofed buildings in a small area to the north of what is now the area of the camp with tents, where work began in the second half of October. The diplomatic cable, dated November, described the camp as having a capacity of up to 10,000 fighters, saying activity began in October with the arrival of dozens of land cruisers, heavy trucks, RSF units, and UAE trainers. Reuters is not revealing the country that wrote the cable to protect the source. 2 of the officials described seeing trucks with the logo of the Emirati logistics company Gorka Group heading through the town of Asosa and towards the camp in October. Gorka did not respond to a request for comment. The news agency was able to match elements of the time frame specified in the diplomatic cable with satellite imagery. Images from Airbus Defence and Space show that after the initial clearing work, tents began filling the area from early November. Multiple diggers are visible in the imagery. An image taken by U.S. space technology firm Vanner on November 24th shows more than 640 tents at the camp, approximately 4 meters square. Each tent could comfortably house 4 people with some individual equipment, so the camp could accommodate at least 2,500 people, according to an analysis of the satellite imagery by defense intelligence company Janes. Jane said it could not confirm the site was military based on their analysis of the imagery. New recruits were spotted traveling to the camp in mid-November, 2 senior military officials said. On November 17th, a column of 56 trucks packed with trainees rumbled through dirt roads of the remote region. The officials, who witnessed the convoys, told Reuters, with each truck holding between 50 and 60 fighters, the officials estimated. 2 days later, both officials saw another convoy of 70 trucks carrying soldiers driving in the same direction, they said. The November 24th image shows at least 18 large trucks at the site. The vehicle's size, shape, and design match those of models frequently used by the Ethiopian military and its allies to transport soldiers, according to Reuters analysis. The news agency could not independently verify what the trucks carried or establish if they were the same trucks that the military officials saw in the convoys a few days earlier. Development continued in late January. The Vanter images show, including new clearing and digging in the riverbed just north of the main camp and dozens of shipping containers lined around the camp visible in a January 22nd image. A senior Ethiopian government official said construction on the camp was ongoing, but did not elaborate on future building plans. An Ethiopian government official said machinery for construction of the training camp, including bulldozers and diggers, was being transported through the nearby town of Asosa every day. Asosa Airport, 53 kilometers away from the camp, has also seen new construction since August 2025. Satellite imagery shows a new hangar and paved areas near the runway, known as aprons, plus what Wim Zwijnenberg, a military technology expert at the Dutch peace organization PX, identified as a UAV ground control station and a satellite antenna. The drone support infrastructure visible in the imagery is similar to setups at 2 other drone bases in Ethiopia, a Reuters review of available imagery found. A senior Ethiopian government official and one of the senior military officials said the Ethiopian military planned to turn the airport into a drone operations center, in addition to at least 5 other drone centers they are aware of across Ethiopia. A diplomatic source said the refurbishment of the airport was part of a wider plan by the Ethiopian military to shift aerial bases towards the country's western flank in order to face possible new threats along the border with Sudan and to protect critical infrastructure, such as the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, GERD. 3 regional officials and diplomats said they were concerned about the Minj camp's proximity to the mega dam, Africa's largest hydroelectric dam, fearing it may be damaged or targeted if fighting broke out in the area. The new camp is about 101 kilometers away from the dam. The government, which owns the dam, did not respond to a request for comment. A Western military analyst, a regional security expert, and a senior Ethiopian official said construction at the airport was related to the RSF's increased presence in the area. The analyst and the expert said the airport had become instrumental in supplying the RSF across the border in Sudan. The senior Ethiopian government official and a regional security analyst said the airport refurbishment had also been paid for by the UAE. Reuters could not independently verify the source of financing for the airport. Months after Abiy rose to power, the UAE pledged a total of $3 billion, or 47.68 BN, in aid and investments in a sign of confidence and support to the newly appointed leader, with $1 billion, or 15.89 BN, destined to Ethiopia's central bank aimed at easing the country's severe foreign currency shortage. In 2025, the UAE and Ethiopian Air Forces signed a memorandum of understanding to develop both nations' air and defense capabilities, according to news reports at the time.